the shir. In the meantime, we're going to be learning about this week's Parsha, Matos Masai, where right off the bat, it seems like it has nothing really to do with us anymore because we make it very clear that we do not do this anymore. We do not take Nadarim, we do not take vows because of the ramifications that come along with it. But there is still something very important to be able to learn from it, especially going into the 9 days. So we're going to jump right into it. It's the third pasuk in this week's parsha that we're going to go into, really also into the sixth pasuk too. But it starts off by saying, Ishki dor neder la'Hashem o yeshava shvua le'sor isra al nafsho, that if a person were to take a vow or to take an oath, that they're going to avoid something, they're not going to go and do something. You know, for some people it might be trying to avoid their kryptonite in food. For some people it might be some other difficulty in their life. For me it's the brookies. When you go to Trader Joe's, if you go to the back right section, those brookies I'm avoiding for my life because of how good they are, but also on how unhealthy they are. So that's my problem, but I haven't taken a neder for that. But lo yachel dvaro kol hayotzim mipiv yaseh. It says that once you've committed to this, you can't back out. Once you've said it out loud, you can't back out. You have to go through with whatever you said, exactly how you said it. V'isha ki tidor neder la'Hashem. And let's say there's a woman who goes and takes a neder. But they're still in their father's home. They're still in their father's home. So that means that we're talking about between the age, according to Halakha, the age of 12 to 12 and a half. An Na'ara. That was one of the questions that I had to answer when I was going into Smicha by Rav Hershel Schachter. He asked me, what's the difference between a katana, an Na'ara, and a bogeres? And he pointed out that this would have been a great practical difference for me to be able to give over. Now I'm giving it over. So one of the, specifically for someone who is between 12 and 12 and a half, once they go past 12 and a half, they're on their own, they're able to do whatever they want. In our homes today, probably a high schooler is still under their parents' home. V'shama avia es nidra, ve'esra asher asra, al nafsha ve'ekarish la'avia, and the father hears this, and he says, okay, she took on this neder, she took on this vow, that's her problem. V'kamu kol nedareh v'kol isar, asher asra al nafsha yakum. So it stands, whatever neder she took upon herself, which we're going to see in Rashi what it was, it stands, she has to go and follow through. V'imeni avio osa, b'yom shamo kol nedareh, v'asareh asher asra al nafsha. And if, let's say, the father did find out about this, and he says, absolutely not. I know my daughter. I know she won't be able to follow through with this neder, especially the one that we're going to see in Rashi. This is a difficult one. I'm going to do her a favor. Now I'm going to annul the vow. I'm going to make it. I'm going to bail her out and make sure that she doesn't have to go through with this. What does it say? Lo yakum Hashem yislach la ki ani avia osa. So she doesn't have to follow through with it, and Hashem forgives her. Very important words that we're going to have to go through. And Hashem forgives her because of what her father did for her. Amazing. But what we're going to see in a moment, why in the world does she need to be forgiven? He literally just said that her father did a great thing for her. Done, call it a day, bailed her out. Let's forget about it. Put the past in the past. And we don't have to worry about it. Why do we have to go and get forgiven? So let's first see Rashi before we jump into that. It says, but make akasim medaber, what it's talking about in the Parsha. B'isha shenadra ben Nazir, someone who becomes, a woman who becomes a Nazir. Another question that Rav Schachter loves to ask. What's up? As Matt's smiling because he knows exactly what I'm about to say. Can a woman become a Nazir?
Absolutely.
So every guy starts going, I don't know, I don't remember the Gemara. And Rav Schachter always says, a Gemara, it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, Ish o Isha. So I don't know what Gemara you're trying to think about. But it's definitely just in a pasuk, and definitely a woman can become a Nazir. So we see it here. A woman decides that she's going to become a Nazir. Veshama bala vehefer la, and her father goes and hears about this and puts it down, bails her out, annuls the vow. She's all good to go. Vihi lo yada, but she doesn't know about this. She doesn't know that her father just did this. Ve'overes al nedra b'shosa yayin umitama l'mesin. And she decides to go and drink some wine or go to a funeral. And Zoe Amshasriga Slicha. For that, she needs to be forgiven. because she went through with it. Va'aval pishu mufa. And even though she was, at the end of the day, bailed out by her father, she still has to be forgiven. The im goes on to say a very harsh thing. The im hamufarin srichim slika. If for something that you were bailed out for, you were annulled for having to go through with, if that you have to be forgiven for, kavachomer she'enan mufarin. Even for things that you weren't bailed out for, that neder that wasn't annulled, all the more so you have to be careful to keep it. Okay, so in a way we answered the question. We answered that the reason why she needs to be forgiven is because she still went through with it. But at the end of the day, if I went to court and I started explaining the whole situation, I'm not a lawyer, so I'd be a terrible lawyer, honestly. So I would never be able to defend my daughter in this situation. But if I hired a lawyer to explain, no, you don't understand, the father went and already annulled the vow, it's totally okay, chances are we're all going to hear this out and we're going to say, there's no need to be forgiven, there's no issue here. So what's going on? Why does she still need to be forgiven for this situation? So I heard a beautiful idea from Rabbi Efrem Goldberg a few years back that stuck with me and really catapults this entire shiur and catapult my way of thinking about how we should be thinking and going through the 9 days. He says that for us that we need to realize that our word is our bond. Our word is everything. When we decide that we're going to go through with something, we tell somebody, we're going to help you or we're going to go and do something for you, even if we don't have a contract for it. Even when it's not written down word for word, I did not agree to this stipulation, that stipulation, your word is your bond. You've agreed to do something. Your word truly matters. And everything that you're going to agree to now, you must go through it. And we see this, okay, yes, she was bailed out in this situation. But at the end of the day, she agreed to do something, even by word. And she has to go and follow through with that. And for us to realize that when we're not necessarily able to go and follow through with our word, we should apologize. We should say, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make this work out, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. And Emir Hashem, that person will also be able to forgive us, just like Hashem goes and forgives her for making this small mistake. So, we see that really we should be giving it our all to make sure that we don't go against our word, that we use our word as important as writing up a contract. I remember hearing a story about Rav Dessler, Rav Eliyahu Dessler, who lived both in England and also in Bnei Brak for a little bit.
Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. He did? I didn't know. So we see that Rav Dessler at some point got into cigarettes, as many people did back then. And then there was a point where people realized, wait, this isn't the most healthy thing in the world, so he tried to go back on that. He tried to revert back and go cold turkey. So what would he do in order to get himself to go cold turkey? He would go around Bnei Brak, he would go around England, wherever he was at the time, and would say, guess what, guys? I stopped smoking. And he would go over to the next person, yo, do you know what happened? I just stopped smoking. And at some point, someone was picking up on this. He said, Rav Dessler, you don't have to go tell every single person, that you stopped smoking. Like it's not a big deal. Like you could just, you don't have to tell anybody. Why are you telling people in general? So Rav Dessler says, because my word is stronger than my actions in this situation. If I'm going around and telling people that I am committed to not smoking, then I'm going to stick to it. But if I don't tell people, then my actions are going to get the best of me. It's another way to be able to look at our words as something of importance. It creates a reputation for ourselves. It creates a way of living for our lives. We see, as I heard from Rav Shai Shechter, a beautiful idea that comes up in the beginning of Bereshit, as we see on the second page. When Hashem creates man, what does Hashem do? Hashem blows into man's nose, into his nostrils. And Onkelos gives a very beautiful idea on this. But first in Bereshit it says, V'yisrael Hashem Elokim es ha'adam ha'afar mina adama v'yipak be'apav nishmas chayim. That Hashem made man from the ground. And what did he do? He blew into the nostrils the breath of life. V'yih ha'adam l'nefesh chayim. And what happens? A human becomes a human being, becomes alive. So the question is, what did Hashem blow into man's nostrils? It doesn't really say anything about what Hashem blew. Does Hashem have a breath? What's Hashem's breath? What does all this mean? So Onkelos goes and explains, what was it that Hashem blew into man? What was it that created the creation of man? It says, L'ruach b'malala. It was speech. Speech was created when Hashem blew into man. It was Hashem's breath of speech that was brought into a person, that brought life to a human being. And with that, we also see that our words have kedusha. That our words have meaning not just in terms of our reputation of how we act and how we are, but also when it comes to our Kiddush Hashem, the way we speak, the way we act through our speech. That's going to make a humongous difference in this world. So now we have to decide how we're going to act during this period of time. How we're going to make sure that we're not going to be speaking Lashon Hara about other people, about other communities, about our nation. We're trying to unite during this time. We're trying to build ourselves up during this time. And how are we going to do that? It has to be done through our speech. It has to be done through our words. We see that from the Chofetz Chaim, which I didn't put into the source sheet, that he believes, the Chofetz Chaim, that there could be 31 different Aveira that could be committed every time someone speaks Lashon Hara, both from the negative commandments and the positive commandments. There's Lo Telech Rachil Be'amecha, that you should not, this is the main one, don't be like a talebearer among your people, don't be speaking Lashon Hara as the most clear as day one. There's Livnei Iver, Lo Tetei Mikshol, that you shouldn't go and be a stumbling block on other people, because what happens when you're going to speak Lashon Hara about one person? Very easy to start spreading the news, to start telling other people about it. And even on the positive commandment side, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. If we're going to be speaking poorly about our nation, about our people, about our community, about the different things that are going on, sure, there's some times where we want to talk about it. We feel that desire to do so. Doesn't mean that we should. And at the end of the day, it could be breaking up our nation. So how are we supposed to go about this? How are we supposed to look at this? So the Mishnah Berurah gives us a little bit of a glimpse. He shows us that yes, it is painful. It is painful to stop ourselves. It's even more painful than fasting, like for food. He says that if you really want to go and do tshuva, if you really want to go and change yourself and put yourself on a path of kedusha, what should you do? You should go and do a Tanis Dibor. You should not speak for a day. Anybody ever tried that before? I did it only once. Painful, very painful. The only thing that you talk about is things of productivity, of things of Torah. It becomes very difficult, but it's also very meaningful because you start to realize a lot of words are being wasted every single day. So it says, as it says by the bolded, V'ra'iti kasu, b'sefer echad k'she'adam roseh li'nadiv tanis, that if someone wanted to go and take upon themselves a fast in order to do tshuva or whatever it might be, tov yoseh she'ikabel tanis mina dibor. It's better to go and take a tanis dibor, one of refraining from speech. Memashi yikabel alav mina akila, over doing one for food. Why? Ki mimenu lo yiyeh lo nezek, lo begupa v'lo benishmaso, v'lo yikalesh al yidei zeh. Because at the end of the day, a person realizes, okay, I didn't actually need to eat all the food that I ate today. I could have easily have gone without one meal or whatever it might be, without the big breakfast. I don't know if we could go without Juan's amazing breakfast, but at the end of the day, we could go without one meal. But speaking gets tough, it gets difficult. All we want to do is be able to talk about, what's going on with the Mets, what's going on with our friends. Who cares about the Mets?
Yeah.
Don't tell Reb Morgenstern that. It's a good thing he's across the ocean right now. I hope he doesn't watch this. But really, what all we want to go and do is talk, and at the end of the day, this Tanis Dibor is going to be holding us back from being able to do so. It could be difficult. But the Vilna Gaon takes it one step further, as it says in the Vilna Gaon, Kazav Hagra, Bigarto, Shesarak ha'adam leisar asmo lo b'tanis b'sigufim. Again, it's better not to do all these fasts, the eating fast and so on and so forth to avoid food. Why? Ken amr barsan piv b'tayvasav v'zehu hatshuva v'chulu. That the greatest type of taiva that we have right now, the greatest desire that we have, is to speak. And if someone can avoid speaking, can avoid saying lashon hara, that is tshuva. That is one step closer to kedusha. That is one step closer to being back in the moment where Hashem created man, where Hashem breathed into us speech. It is one step closer to bringing one more brick back to the Beis HaMikdash. Every time that we avoid lashon hara, every time that we avoid speaking poorly about a friend, every time that we avoid creating a moment of sinas chinam, of baseless hatred between our people, it is bringing kedusha back to our world. It is like bringing a brick back to the Beis HaMikdash. And that is what we are working on during these 9 days. Whether it's at our Shabbos tables, at our offices, at our friend's house, whatever it might be, what are we working on? Making sure that we only speak about the good of our nation. The only thing that we speak about is our strengths and how we can grow. And how are we supposed to do this? It could get difficult. It could get very difficult to continually try to make sure that we don't say something poorly about another person. At the end of the day, it's very fun to talk about gossip, to talk about other people and the things that are going wrong. That's why there's a lot of TV shows that are based off of some type of reality drama that goes on. Dance Moms, I remember seeing in my house. All this drama between different families, this and that and that and this. And this is what people want to watch. People want to enjoy the gossip. So how do we avoid it? So it comes up in the Gemara Chulin that maybe the way to avoid it is to treat being mute like a job. To treat our words like it is our avoda, like it is our umana, our job. As it says, Mahi umnaso shel adam be'olam hazeh. What is a person's craft, a person's expertise? What should it be in this world? Yasim asmo ki'ilain. It says that he should make himself like a mute. His craft, that his expertise, should be like he doesn't speak. What in the world are you talking about? What does that mean? What it's trying to say is that when you treat stopping yourself from speaking lashon hara, when you treat trying to hold yourself back from saying that thing about a friend or saying that thing about a family member, that requires you to treat it like your job, like your passion. You have to turn it into everything in your life. Because if you don't, it's so easy to fall back. It's so easy to start just talking poorly about every single person. It's so easy then to create the sinas chinam that's holding us back from turning Tisha B'Av into a moment of happiness and pride. When I started NCSY, I didn't start NCSY. When I started doing NCSY, way back, it was 4, 5, 6 years ago at this point, one of my first chavrusas, we would learn a sefer called False Facts and True Rumors by Rabbi Daniel Feldman. I would say that there's a lot of great moments, there's a lot of weird, intricate halachot that were very difficult to go through, but one of the things that ended up happening was that my chavrusa, this teen, ended up getting really into making sure that he wouldn't speak lashon hara, which was really cool. And one day he texted me. He texted me, Arya, today I spent all day making sure I wasn't speaking lashon hara. Very, very difficult, especially in a high school environment, but wow, it makes you feel like a cleaner person. Amazing. When we start to really think about our words, when we start to think about how our words are of kedusha, our word is our bond. That is when we start to feel like a cleaner person. That is when we start to feel the kedusha in our lives. And that's when we get to see, in Meretz Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash